Okay, so this is the beginning of function notation and functions. So the first thing that we're gonna talk about is what is a relation. So a relation is just a set of points, like when they give you a set of points. It doesn't matter, so it doesn't matter what points they are, like you don't know anything about those points. So, but you will know that the input is the X and the output is the Y. So this is the X and this is the Y. So when they ask you, what is this is a relation, what is the input of this relation and what is the output? So the input are all the X's. So remember in a point, X and Y, all those, right? So we're gonna write all the X's here and all the Y's here. That's pretty much what we're doing. So that's 2, -2, 0, and then 2. Since 2 repeats, I'm not going to write it twice. Why? All my y's. 2, -2, 4, and 1. Okay? So those are my y's. All right? So remember, do not write if it's twice. All right, so what is a function? So a function is whenever you have an y, there's only one x for that y. That means that if in the relation your x repeats, then it's not a function. So when it repeats, it's not a function. That's what we have to remember. When it repeats, it's not a function. So if your x repeats, it's not a function. So let's see. In this relation, 2, 1, 4, and 3. So this is my x, this is my y. 2, 1, 4, and 3. My x's, none of my x's repeat. Now let's see my y's. 0, -2, 4, and 1. So it doesn't matter if the y repeats. As long as the x doesn't repeat, then it's a function. So domain are all my x values. My range are my y values. So in this case, this is my input also. And this is my output. So this is the result of inputting your domain. All right, so just some definitions here, right? All right, so given this relation, state the domain and range. So domain are all my x's. So that would be 2, 3, -1, -2, 0, 4. And my range, it's the same thing that we were talking about when we talked about output. So it would be all my y's. So that's 3, 7, 5, -2, -1. And there's another -2, which I'm not going to rewrite. Now, remember, same thing. This is my input. This is my output, which is the same thing as this is my domain, my range, and that's how we call that in a function. So x and y, right? X and y. So my point x and y, this is my domain, this is my range, same thing as this is my input, this is my output. All right. It's a little blurry here. Okay, so it says, so let's keep going with this information here. I just gotta show you. I don't want to show you like more problems per se. I'm gonna show you just relation and function. Don't like identifying. So state the domain and range of the relation. So let's see. The domain is well, all my x's, right? So -2, 1, 2, and 4. And my range is all my y's. So that's 0, 4. The 4 repeats. I'm not going to write it twice. And 2. Same thing here. And if it repeats, I'm not going to write it twice. Now, this is called mapping. So when you map functions, you put all the x, these are, each of them is a point. So -1 and 4, it's a point. 0 goes to 7, that's a point. 2 goes to 3, and 3 goes to 3. That's 2 points right there, and then that's another point. So this is called graphing. So it's a mapping strategy. So for negative, if you input -1 in a function, you're gonna get -4. That's what you're doing here. You're mapping it. Then it says, determine whether the relation is illustrated in the mapping represents a function. Well, if the x repeats, then it's not a function. So in this case, your x is not repeating. But in this case, your x is repeating. So notice that 2 goes to 3 and 3 goes to 3. Your range can repeat, but not your x, okay? So this is a function, yes, and this is not a function. And why? Because the x repeats. And yes, because each x goes to y, meaning that each x, so the x's do not repeat. All right, so we have to remember how to plot points because a lot of the work that you're doing this week is also remember how to graph points. So let's graph these points over here. So remember my domain in range, my domain is my x's and my range are my y's. And it says plot the following points and determine whether the relation is a function. Well, I'll show you a quick way to know if a graph is a function or not. So let's look for some points here. So that's 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 down, 1, 2. That's the first point. The second point is 1 to the right, 2 up, 0, 1. So 0 and then 1, and then negative 2, 1, 2, and then 2 up, 1, 2, right here. Now, I know this is a function because none of the x's, there's not another point. Like if I use, it's called a vertical line test to check if it's a function. If I use this straight line vertical, if there was another point in the same line, that means that the x's repeat. So these 2 points will have the same x. In this graph, nothing happens like that. Each point has 1x. So this is a function. So yes. Now, what about this one? So 0 and then 2 up, 1, 2, 1 and negative 1, negative 1 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2 and 1. Now, in this case, notice that in this point and in this point, you have the same x right here. So 2 points are in the same x. They are sharing that same x. So this is not a function. Okay. Now, I can determine this. I don't even have to graph, right? I just have to see if the x's repeat. If it repeats, then it's not a function. But they asked me to graph it. So you need to graph it. Okay. All right. So you really have to read the question, right? Okay. This third part here, it says determine whether each relation is a function of x using the vertical line test. So the vertical line test. So you grab a pencil like that. If you can see 2 points in the same line vertically, not horizontally, vertically, like that, vertical line test, right? So if you see 2 points here on the same graph, that means that this is not a function. All right, how about this one? Well, this is an absolute value graph. Yep, so is this a function? So yes. There's no other point in the same x, right? Okay. How about circles? Not a function. Let's just put that because when you go vertically right here, you notice that there are 1 point here and 1 point here, right? So that is not a function. Definitely not a function. That's not even 2 points. That's 3 points on the same line vertically. So not a function. And then, yes, this is a function. If you move the pencil here, you use the vertical line test. It shows that there is 1x for every y. So yes, this is a function. So that's pretty much what you're doing in this week, just identifying whether it's a relation is a function or not, and using maybe a mapping strategy or graphing. I hope these help.